Greetings and welcome to Chestermania 2021. Here are your illustrious hosts, Dale Ahlquist, Ethan Nicole, and Kyle Mann.
Everyone, welcome to a special episode of the B Weekly.
It's Chestermania 2021.
We are currently in G.K. Chestertown.
G.K. Chesterton.
That's right. Population, Kyle, me, Ethan, and the mayor of Chestertown himself, Dale Ahlquist.
Hi, Mayor.
It's an honor to have you here,
It's an
Mr.
honor.
Mayor.
Gentlemen, you are my loyal subjects, and I...
Are you subjects of the mayor? Is that how that works?
yeah, what are you of a mayor?
I don't know. Citizen?
We voted you in, I think.
We will be your subjects for today, Dale.
We're down. So Dale Ahlquist is the president of the Society of Gilbert Keith Chesterton, previously known as the American Chesterton Society, right? You guys changed your name?
Yeah, we did. We dropped the American.
Americans. That made you more
We went to
the world.
We went to the.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're the now.
Now, was the Chesterton Society that you're part of, did you start that, or had that been around when you joined it, or how?
It hadn't been around.
So you made it?
A gentleman who was my co-founder founded it with me. So
Okay.
it was two of us that started it back in 1996, before either of you were born.
Incorrect.
Did you say 96?
He may have not been born yet.
Was
I'm
that
not sure.
satire? Can you say satire? We're not good at distinguishing satire.
I shouldn't try to do humor on this thing. Okay, so anyways, that's when it started. It's been around 25 years.
Okay, 96, wow.
Well,
Before I was born.
Why don't we start out by, you have 60 seconds to tell us why G.K. Chesterton is important, why people should read him, and why you should start an entire society based on him.
So 60 seconds. Yeah. When do I start? 60 seconds, because...
Wait, we'll put up the timer.
Chesterton's simply the best writer of the 20th century.
All right, go.
G.K. Chesterton, the best writer of the 20th century, wrote about absolutely everything, more prolific than anybody else, said something about everything, said it better than anybody else. He's funny, but he's serious. He is more up to date than any writer writing now. And if you don't start a society devoted to G.K. Chesterton, you have absolutely wasted your life.
What are some of the laws of a G.K. Chesterton Society, since we have 30 more seconds?
Well, I wasted 30 seconds not talking.
Yeah.
Could we just have 30 seconds of silence? Would that be okay?
I'm all right with that.
It's kind of bad radio.
Oh, that's true. I forgot it's radio.
We could play some music, like elevator music.
I think there's basically two laws of the Chesterton Society. You actually have to read Chesterton and not just
quote him.
Quoting him comes after reading him, yeah. And then the other one is, if you're not happy, then you probably have to be thrown out of the society.
You must be happy.
Yeah, you must be happy.
Mandatory happiness.
Mandatory happiness. It's a choice, but you have to take the choice, though, yeah. Right.
Once you sign up for it, then it's mandatory.
Buckle your happy belts. It's the law.
Well, we usually start out our podcast with weird news.
Yeah, so if people aren't catching on, this is a special edition. We're doing all Chesterton today because Mr. Dale Ahlquist is finally in town. We've been wanting to get him here forever.
We've been talking about it for months.
Hello, please purchase things from our store.
We make stuff, you buy
We make
it.
things, you buy things.
There is B on thing.
Oh, look, fantastic product. B.
Very
Tumbler.
shiny. Great cost. Excellent quality. You buy now.
Buy now. Shop.babylonb.com.
Repeat.
Purchase tumbler today.
So we usually do weird news of, last week. But since Mr. Dale's here, we're doing the special edition version of an all Chesterton all day long episode. We're going to do weird news from the early 1900s. And so we're also going to make it a real or fake with Adam Yenzer. So only Adam knows if these are real or fake headlines. And we're going to find out if these are real or fake. We have to guess. Whoever gets it right wins. Some bread or something, some cheese. And then if it's real, we want Dale to let us know what Chesterton might have had to say about the news story.
I like how we're mixing all our segments together.
Yeah, it's like a
Also, you have to eat a mystery pie
Yeah.
and then bounce it into a beer pong.
Watch the YouTube video of a drummer collapsing on a worship stage.
All right, let's see the first headline. In 1903, a school for parrots opened in Philadelphia that taught them to talk using phonograph recordings.
I say true.
I'm going to say true.
I'm going to say true.
That one is true.
All right.
All right.
You guys all nailed it.
Someone's got to keep score here.
What would G.K. Chesterton have said about this story?
Well, he enjoyed the fact that what makes animals so amusing is when they do something that's human-like. That's why we laugh at them, because it's something human-like that amuses us. But he also has the great comeback that animals are really not that much like humans. It's amazing how little they are like humans, and teaching a parrot to talk kind of points out that they're not really very much like humans. You have to, all the parrot is doing is imitating the human, and it's not really talking with his own cognitive abilities.
But I've heard dolphins are smarter than humans. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, they are, and that's because they play the violin better than
If they had arms, they would be able to.
well, and they've a history of great composers from the dolphins. Some of the greatest composers have been dolphins.
Yeah, like for instance. Continue.
He set you up to use your dolphin
Yeah,
sound.
dolphin sound. A 3-year-old boy served 4 months in prison for stealing a toy worth 2 cents from a store.
Adam, are you being a punk on any of these?
I'm not being a punk on any of these. He always asks me this. Like, he's always curious if I did something like, for instance,
Like change one word.
he
2
served
cents.
5 months in prison,
Yeah.
and then I'm
Okay,
like, no, it's fake.
So none
No,
of them
I'm not a punk on any
So
of
they're either
these.
completely made up or a real story.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to go with true again.
True.
I'm going to say false.
This one is true.
Whoa. All right.
What would
I knew it was.
I do recall Chesterton commenting on a young man that was severely punished for something in one of his essays, but I'm blanking on what it was.
He did. He did talk about completely strange and unjust sentences to prison, and that based on these things, we should all be in prison.
Oh, I think it was in What's Wrong in the World. He's talking about how it's the same thing that a poor person does. They'll go to prison, and a rich person can get away with it.
Right,
And
and
that kind of crime.
how
Stealing a toy.
a poor person could be arrested for not having a home, for instance.
Right.
Yeah, that's absurd. Yeah, I knew it was right.
Louisiana congressman introduced a bill to create a hippo meat industry in the U.S., or as he called it, lake cow bacon. I'm going to say that's false.
I want it to be true, so I'm going to say true.
So you want it to be true, so that's basically, and you're just basing it on common sense.
I know Adam's
I'm a
sense of humor.
postmodernist,
Adam
so-
made that up.
I like to want things to
Lake
be
cow
true.
bacon is an Adam Yenser joke.
I like to assert truth.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's false because I just can't see the hippo meat in the U.S. working as a.
Do hippos live in lakes? Is that where they live?
They live in different
They don't live in
countries.
the ocean.
That's the main thing. They live in different
They live in
countries.
ponds.
Yeah.
I wish I had made up lake cow bacon.
Is it real?
This is a true story. And it was a congressman.
Wait, am I winning?
You're. Is anybody keeping track?
See what's
So
going on.
in Louisiana, they have like marshes and
Gotten them
swamps,
all
and
right
so
so
to
far,
bring
but
in
we
like economic resources,
track.
he wanted to raise hippos in Louisiana.
Yeah, I thought it said horse meat. Sorry about that. Okay.
I led you
Well, by
astray.
my account, I'm winning.
Hey, what would Chesterton have said about this?
Oh, yeah. So many true ones.
Well, Chesterton was a big believer in bacon. I think he would have liked this story.
Hippo bacon?
Yeah, right.
I really want to try hippo bacon.
Is meat from hippos called bacon?
Lake cow bacon.
Isn't there a bacon part of every animal? No?
Oh, I
I
don't
thought the
know.
bacon was just pigs, right?
Yeah, I guess. No, there's turkey bacon.
Oh, I guess
Yeah,
that's
there is
true.
turkey bacon. He's right.
Horrible. In 1904, in Syracuse, New York, 2 men named Robert Downey and Chris Evans started a neighborhood militia group and called it the Avengers.
False.
False.
True.
That one's false.
You're not taking the game seriously.
Sorry.
Hey, what would G.K. Chesterton have said about this?
That,
Even the
not
fake
true one.
stories.
I have to mention. Well, that would have been quite a coincidence, though. You got to admit, if it is true, that would have been a great coincidence. I'm gonna ask you to look that one up again, see, because it might be true.
That's possible, yeah.
Have you eliminated all possibilities?
Did you really
that
check?
Did you check?
It's probably a different
Check to make sure there's nothing even similar.
different year, I bet, and not in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Being a punk.
The leader of the World Health Organization launched a campaign to ban kissing because it spreads consumption.
That sounds like current news. I'll go with true.
What is consumption? I don't know.
Consumption is tuberculosis.
Oh, I'm going to say true.
Consumption could also be what you do with the cheese that's on this table, but that's a
can't
different
wait till
use
that
of the
happens.
same word, right? It sounds really true, so I'm going to vote true.
That one is true.
All right.
Yeah.
And Chester would have talked about Puritanism, which he was always condemning big time, and this is a perfect example of Puritanism.
Worship of health.
Worship of health.
Even to stop consumption?
Well, he would have said that you're right. He would have worshipped health. You got me, Kyle.
I wasn't trying to get you. I was just asking.
Even to stop COVID.
I feel like this because I
don't like
remember when
this guy.
Fauci was talking about ending handshakes. He's like, it's the thing in society we should be ending anyway. I think it was him, right?
Yeah.
Handshakes are outdated. They
Yeah.
need to be a thing of the past.
Yeah, gross old-fashioned thing.
Well, they're rituals. Yeah, you got to do away with rituals, and
Right.
handshakes are ritual. Get rid of rituals.
We'll create an app for handshakes. A horse that disappeared from a ranch in Oklahoma was found 2 weeks later wandering the streets of Chicago wearing a bow tie and a fedora.
I'm going to say false.
Well, true.
I'm feeling false here, but I like it. I like this story, but I just don't like its veracity.
It's false.
An inventor died trying to demonstrate that he could use his coat as a parachute by jumping from the Eiffel Tower.
Sounds true.
I'm going to say true.
Yeah, true.
I think it's false, even though it does sound true and stupid enough that someone would try that. And but I'm going to say false.
It is stupid enough that someone tried that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
so much
true.
more faith in humanity
That
than
one's
we do.
true.
And see, Chesterton actually did have faith in humanity, and he didn't want to just consign everyone to that garbage heap of stupidity.
Everybody's
And,
stupid, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can say this: he didn't like the Eiffel Tower, so in that sense,
Why didn't he like the Eiffel Tower?
He thought it. Yeah, he thought ugliness. That's because remember, it's a monstrosity of modern art. Really, it's just a bunch of steel beams.
Right.
Remember, it's certainly the iconic image of Paris, but Paris has a lot more beautiful stuff to offer than steel beams.
Yeah, but he likes skeletons. It feels like that's kind of skeletal.
Yeah, he likes the skeleton with the flesh over them, though. I mean, skeletons are important, but it's for what they hold up, not for their own sake.
Okay.
We should talk about that essay later. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a German immigrant named Wilhelm Sommer was struck by lightning 3 times in one day, once while naked. I'm gonna go with true.
True.
Yeah, that sounds true.
That one's false.
Yeah.
I put a lot of
You made that up?
I put a lot of details in there.
Well, the reason
That one is made up.
The reason I was convinced it was true because it was German immigrant. Yeah, that's what convinced me it was
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
I was convinced by Wilhelm.
It was once while naked for me.
You nailed us all.
We were all convinced by a
That one, yeah.
Congratulations, Adam.
You each focused
Those
in
are
on
still
a
my
different
Everyone that's
detail
not
of that
true
one.
reveals the truth about Adam and what he
Yes.
thinks about
A
naked
couple
Germans.
Yeah.
A couple in Idaho put 50 cents worth of postage stamps on their 5-year-old daughter and sent her through the mail to her grandmother in another town.
I'm going with true again.
False.
It sounds true, so I'm going to say false.
That one's true.
Wow. Ethan's killing it.
Ethan is back in the lead now,
What would Chesterton have said about this story?
Mailing children
He's going to be answering this a lot today.
post office.
As I feel like Chesterton's spokesperson on every little
I'll
thing.
get back to you on that one, Kyle.
You don't know? Did he ever say anything about the postal service?
I said I'd get back to you.
Okay. Where do we find this guy?
As Afghanistan transitioned out of Persian control, one British diplomat proposed dividing the country between 2 regional tribes and calling the countries East and West Afghanistan.
I'm going to say false.
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. I'm going to go thumbs down on this one, Adam.
I'll go false.
That one is false.
He just couldn't wait to get his Afghanistan
I was trying to
joke out
find
there.
a way to get Afghanistan into it. Yes.
Did you write Afghanistan like years ago? And you've been trying to
it
get
was
it.
an idea I had a while ago for some sort of joke that
guy's worked on-
never fit anywhere. Yes.
This guy's worked on Conan and Ellen, and now he's here.
Yeah, and I finally got my Afghanistan joke out there.
We get all the rejected jokes from Ellen
Yes.
on the Babylon Bee podcast.
Exactly.
A goat ran for mayor of Greenwood, Indiana, and his opponent, the incumbent mayor, held a public debate with the animal.
I'm going true.
True.
You've got to be kidding. Now that was a pun, gentlemen. Yeah, all right. And I'm going to say true.
That one's false.
Yeah.
What? He's getting us.
Okay, good.
I was fooled by the Greenwood.
I just wanted it to be true. A tank holding 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst in the city of Boston, flooding streets, destroying buildings, and killing 21 people. I've been there. I've been on the tour. I've seen it. I know it's true.
False. He's trying to trick me. No, I'm going to say true.
Well, I'm going to have to say false.
False. It was 22 people. No, I'm kidding.
I knew it. No, I knew it.
That one is true. Yes.
It was like a tidal wave of molasses,
Yeah.
right? It's insane.
Like the slowest flood ever.
Slowest flood.
Well, I think when it's hot, I think it's a little more dangerous. Well,
A doctor in Georgia determined that a 12-year-old boy was sick because he had eaten the entire family Bible. True.
I'm going to go with true.
It sounds like an Adam joke, though.
Yeah, it does. You have to watch his face. He gets that little impish look on his face. Yeah.
Impish.
It sounds like something a Protestant would do. I'm going to say true then. Also.
That one is true. I enjoy the story a lot, but it's true. Yeah. I wish I had made that up.
And finally, a man in Kansas attempted suicide to avoid talking to a door-to-door salesman.
Sounds like a scene from Airplane.
False.
Yeah, I'm going to say false.
That one's also true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ethan killed us, man.
Yeah.
Ethan is our winner.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, what do I get? A free copy of Dale Ahlquist's new book,
Nice.
Orthodoxy, but the American translation.
American translation. Good.
So people have a hard time reading Orthodoxy. You rewrote it. You use all these American slang words like dog and yeet and bussin'.
The madman.
We just put the word like between every word.
Okay.
The madman yeets himself into a bussin' circle.
So like the maniac, which is the first chapter, would be like what? Like
It's like the Maniac is the new
cray.
chapter. I was
Yeah,
going like
yeah,
the Maniac.
I had the word like.
The maniac.
It's like the suicide.
But I used like
of,
properly
thought.
there. I didn't use it like.
No, you used it improperly, but that's okay. It's,
For instance,
yeah, there we go.
Is it a bomb book?
is book the bomb?
The bomb?
I don't know. Is it? Tell me what
It's a
that
good
means.
thing or a bad
Oh,
thing.
it's a good thing. Now, what we did with the book was we took out a lot of the references to things that nobody knows
Yeah.
what they are, like Samuel Cooper, spelled Cowper but pronounced Cooper, and there's only two people in the world, and they're both sitting in this room who know who that is, and so the rest of the world doesn't have to be troubled by looking up who he was, and so it just reads a lot more smoothly. There were a few words that we changed to the Americanism of the word rather than the English version. We changed things like the Bank of England to Wells Fargo, just in case people don't know what the Bank
Okay.
of England is. So they'll
So you took out like biscuits and made it cookies. Yeah, cookies.
Yeah. We would have done that if the word biscuits had been in the book.
Okay,
That's what
gotcha.
we would have done. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's a much easier read now, and all of the great Chesterton lines are still in there untouched.
So you have to like translate any of it because there's a lot of I noticed because so my book that I just put out, the 14 essays that I recommend to people to check out Chesterton, I heavily footnoted like everything. So like there's over 400 footnotes because there's a lot of things he says I don't know what he's talking about, and I wanted to hold everyone's hand through it. And I started to realize as I was doing that, is when I was looking up his references, I realized, oh, he's making another joke right here, and a lot of them are jokes. Mm-hmm. So did you have to like translate puns? Did you have to translate jokes?
Well, we try to do away with the need to do that by simplifying the language, but there were certain things where within the sentence, we just expanded the sentence a little bit to make the meaning clear, the reference to what he's referring to. without going to the footnotes. Because obviously if you take a scholarly treatment of the book, then you're going to be using the footnotes and heavily rely on the footnotes to explain everything. This is to be a popular edition that people can read right through without having to get waylaid.
Okay.
Yeah, I chose to do very silly footnotes. So.
Well, that's good too.
It's a weird mixture.
I've never written a
I am not
book.
scholarly. Kyle's Chesterton books on the way.
Yes.
But I think Dale's written like a whole library of Chesterton books. So
I've written 5 books on Chesterton, and I've edited 15 books on Chesterton. So.
Hey, you, do you want to be woke?
I know I do. I wake up every morning thinking I would really want to be woke.
That's fantastic because I have a product that meets that exact need that you just articulated right then. It's a new book called The Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness, and it teaches you how to be woke.
My entire life, I've asked myself, how are these kids these days getting so woke? And I know that there's got to be an instruction book out there, but there isn't until now.
Now there is, because this book teaches you how to be woke so you won't get canceled, so Twitter mobs won't come after you and ruin your life. You get to know how to choose your pronouns, your gender. Buy this book so that you won't get canceled. You can order it today.
All right, so let's look at some. Do you have your Chesterton prophecies handy in your brain, or?
I've got a few of them up there. Let's see what we can come up
We have
with.
our old ones we did. We do have a previous video, so we won't go through all these, but these are some that we went over in an old video of ours. But we hear that you saw our video and you did a sequel.
I did some the other 10 best prophecies, and did that at the conference this last summer where Kyle was our guest speaker there.
And I got an award that has my name taped on it with masking tape.
Yeah.
Where is that? It was behind you. Oh, here it is.
Oh yeah, there it is. We should hold that up there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
This is so cool. I mean, we gave him the Society of Gilbert Keith Chesterton Outline of Sanity Award. And it says very nicely inscribed Seth Dillon, but we taped on there and Kyle Mann. I mean,
honored.
That's so permanent. Yeah, that's great.
It's in permanent marker.
Permanent marker,
On the
absolutely.
tape.
And
So-
masking tape because masks. Okay, sorry, let's stop. All right.
We got to rein this guy in. So here was one of the Chesterton prophecies we did. We shall soon be in a world in which a man may be howled down for saying that 2 and 2 make 4, in which people will persecute the heresy of calling a triangle a 3-sided figure, and hang a man for maddening a mob with the news that the grass is green.
So only the grass is left, right? I think they've
done the
rest
triangle
been done.
and the math. Any thoughts? Is that accurate prophecy?
Yeah, that is very interesting because the twist on that great prophecy there is that there are people who are arguing that nothing is absolute. But Chesterton was always saying you cannot imagine, however, 2 and 2 not making 4. Your brain is incapable of imagining 2 and 2 adding up to anything else than 4. It's just a complete defiance of logic. And he said, even in our fantasy world, we can have great images, we can have tigers growing from trees, and we can imagine that. But even in the fantasy world, 2 and 2 still has to equal 4.
Right.
And now the fact that mathematics is the new thing that's under attack as being a cultural thing is Chesterton pointing out that we're kicking every one of our foundations out from under ourselves. Yeah.
Did he see it coming that 2 + 2 = 4 would one day be racist?
Well, I don't know that he talked about racist, but I mean, there it is. It's they were
Shouted down.
hanging a man for maddening the mob. That's what, if it's racism or sexism or anything else, whatever the ism is, he didn't necessarily predict it, at least in this one. But he has references to that. He's attacking racial theories back then, and
So what are one of your, if you have any off the top of your head, favorite Chesterton prophecies?
I think one that I quoted at the conference was the fact that we live in this age of enormous waste, and and it's epitomized. And this is him saying this 100 years ago. It's epitomized by having a loudspeaker pouring music into an empty street. And how often do we walk into places where there's music blasting and there's no one there?
Yeah.
And sometimes hotels, for instance.
Yeah.
They have to blast out music at the entryway when you're standing outside waiting for a ride. They feel that you won't have a complete experience unless there's music there. And then, of course, when you drive away, the music remains. It's still there, blasting the music. That was a credible little prophecy about the way we waste everything.
And it's like modern people would hear that and think only trash and things like that. They would never think the waste of just your ears.
Right, waste of ears.
Your mind, right? Because I think about the movie theaters. Do you remember when, like, I'm saying like now so much. I'm noticing it. Do you remember, for instance, how in the theaters, you go to the movies, it would be quiet before the movie started. Or there might be like a little slideshow or something. And now there's just this
they play
garbage.
All those previews and all
the
that.
preview to the previews. It's
The preview
just
to the
pure
preview.
garbage. Like it's letting you know what not to watch.
Right. And Chesterton talks about the fact that we've lost the ability to be silent, to be quiet, and we have to be inundated constantly with some sort of stimulus and sensation. And it's made us totally passive people because you need quiet and solitude and silence in order to really get your brain to work and to be
reflect.
active. It's the rigor of your brain operates when you're not distracted, but we are filled with distractions.
I notice even the way that our social media is evolving. We get to these formats that are shorter and shorter, like these TikTok videos that are 5 seconds, and then you flip to the next one. What's the next joke? What's the next joke? And you can't sit there and let even like a 3-minute funny sketch develop anymore, let alone a long movie.
Yeah.
And I find that when I've spent a lot of time online, and then I switch to reading a long book, I'm like getting bored after a half page, and it's rewired the way that you expect to be stimulated all the time by things.
The amazing thing about Chesterton is, you sit down with one of his long books, and you have to spend time, and it takes up your energy to follow his argument, stay with him. But yet, he somehow works for the modern audience because of those great one-liners.
Yeah, it's true.
It's somehow he was made for our time. We can hook people, bring them in with those just short sentences, his pithy quotes.
So he would have been good on Twitter. I mean, he is good. I mean,
Yeah, he is good on
his
Twitter.
Twitter accounts are amazing.
He would have been so good that he is good.
Yep. I'm only imagining original Chesterton Twitter tweets. And I'd love to see him subtweeting, AOC or something.
Therefore, the modern man in revolt has become practically useless for all purposes of revolt. By rebelling against everything, he has lost his right to rebel against anything.
Yeah, you can't. In order to doubt everything, for instance, Chesterton says you have to be standing on some solid ground that you don't doubt.
Right.
There has to be an absolute from which you question whether everything's relative, right? So everyone undoes all their own arguments by giving up the fact that it does start with a faith in something that has to be unshakable in order to even begin the rebellion. Yeah.
Yeah, and similarly, the idea that to call something sick, you have to have some idea of what health means.
That's right. Great line. He says that we always say we live in a strange world when we have known no others.
You got any more, another off the top of your head? I mean, he predicted things that actually happened after he died, right? Like, I think that things that happened in World War II, I believe he made predictions about.
Yeah, he said that there would be a new war. It'd be the worst war in all of human history, and it would start on the Polish border. And that was 6 years before a shot was fired. So,
wow.
Yeah, just incredible.
He also said on his Twitter account, when all are sexless, there will be equality. There will be no women and no men. There will be but a fraternity, free and equal. The only consoling thought is that it will endure but for one generation.
That's wonderful.
Kind of a prophecy.
Yeah, he also
Probably still going to happen.
Well, I mean, within that that great quote there is the first point he makes in The Maniac in Orthodoxy, which is every bad philosophy will lead to madness if you follow it to its natural conclusion. And in the next chapter, The Suicide of Thought, not only does it lead to madness, such as the idea of sexlessness, it will lead to self-destruction. So it'll not only be a crazy idea, it will destroy itself. And that's just a corollary of that same quote right there.
It is only by believing in God that we can ever criticize the government. Once abolish the God, and the government becomes the God. Famous Chesterton quote.
Very famous Chesterton quote, and he has several variations on that. That you don't have anything to appeal to. Our rights come from an authority, and that's why we can appeal to that authority. And if the rights are only coming from the government, there's nothing to appeal to if that becomes the highest authority. There has to be some higher authority than the government.
Yeah, you see with this pandemic, like the way that they'll even phrase some of these news stories is like, government says you now have the right to go outside or whatever. Like they're granting this wonderful right
Or
to you.
kiss.
You may now kiss.
So I'm going to pick a short one. The special mark of the modern world is not that it is skeptical, but that it is dogmatic without knowing it.
That goes back to what we were saying before. You don't. To state your opinion about anything, you are implying that you believe something, right? And the skeptic can't doubt everything. He simply cannot doubt anything. He has to at least believe that he exists and that the ground he's standing on is solid in order to begin his doubting. And so that is a dogma. And he says there's two kinds of people in the world. He says there are those who are dogmatic and know it, and those who are dogmatic and don't know it.
Yeah, every time I hear about all the woke stuff, like we just interviewed Dr. Deborah So yesterday, sexpert, and she talking about all the stuff that is not scientific but is being pushed onto science by the woke culture. And all I can think the whole time is like, it's a religion. This is they're dogmatic, they're pushing their ideas on them. They would never admit that they're being dogmatic and religious, but it's purely what's happening.
Oh, just the worship of health and the worship of the earth, those are religious worships. And if you defy any of those, you're defying their gods when you interfere with that deity. There was one I was going to mention about the sex one that was right before that because it really fit in. He says, in the end, the exaggeration of sex will be sexlessness.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what's happened. I mean, he saw the emphasis on sex coming. In fact, another one of his great prophecies was the next great heresy will be an attack on morality, especially sexual morality. And he said that in 1926. He said, the madness of tomorrow is not in Moscow, but much more in Manhattan. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if we have this on here, but I love the one with the monk and the lamppost where he talks about how some people wanted to smash it just because they wanted to smash something, and then the people who wanted to smash it because they wanted to destroy municipal machinery. And how accurate is that?
And then the last one, because they loved darkness and their deeds were evil.
Yeah.
The reference to the Gospel of John, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
All right, well, I think,
so
is
that's
there
some
any
prophecies.
more prophecies that we should not miss before we get out of this portion?
Let's see if there's another really
there are
good
many,
one.
but-
Yeah, there are some really good ones.
He has some stuff on like abortion where he's talking about how
Yeah, all that stuff,
we will soon
eugenics.
sacrifice our children, like
Oh, and he said while we're debating whether or not birth control is what he would have called it then, not contraception, but he said while we're debating whether birth control is right or wrong, someone else will be already putting it into
there
a
it
program.
is. We have it on there.
Yeah.
Put birth control into an immediate practical program while we were all discussing the dreadful danger of somebody else putting it into a distant utopia.
There it is. Yeah. And he said the march of progress will begin with birth control and then lead to abortion and then to infanticide. And that's what he said the march of progress will be. And we watched that.
Yeah. Wow.
So who's more accurate, The Simpsons, The Babylon Bee, or G.K. Chesterton?
Well, I'm glad Adam's not here because he'd correct me if he'd put all the instances where. Well, I could. So far, The Simpsons and Chesterton are the most prolific of the three.
Okay.
Okay. So the Babylon Bee, has
have to
more
earn,
attention.
the youngest.
But you obviously have a higher batting average probably because you've you've put out less material. So that's a good point. But
That's one way to bat 1,000. Just do one article.
just
on
do one article and get it right.
All right, well, let's talk about G.K. Chesterton's books and maybe where people should start. If they don't know anything about him, you can give us kind of a rundown. We already mentioned Dale's, a great place to start is Dale's American version of Orthodoxy. I don't know where did it go? Did we have it? Oh, yeah, Dale's version of Orthodoxy, which is kind of an easier way to approach it. I started Orthodoxy several times before I managed to read.
That's another reason why we did the book, Kyle, because a lot of people started Orthodoxy many times and they just couldn't do it. This one, when you start, we should get you through the whole book the first time. But the problem, again, is even the people who've gotten through the whole book the first time and they've underlined the whole book, and they've got a book they've underlined, and they get to the end of it, they go, well, what the heck did I just read? What was that book about? Because I underlined it.
I think what people don't get, and it took me a long time to get at Orthodoxy, is we're used to books that a lot of people, when they come to faith, they came to faith in a very personal way. But then when they write apologetics, they write reasons you could believe in God, but they're not the reasons that led them. So they'll write, arguments from existence or from the Big Bang or from science or from all the logic and reason. Chesterton, he actually in the beginning of the book calls reason a madness. So he says he's not starting there. This isn't a reasoned out book. He's really trying very hard to explain why he personally believes what he believes. And it's a bunch of pieces of things that for him all fit together. But he's also, I think he's saying, they might not all fit together this way for you, but this is how it all fits together for me. And so it's all these pieces and it's his logic and it's very personal. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're going to it and thinking, oh, maybe this is like another J.P. Moreland book or something where he just kind of bullet points out apologetics.
In my head, I thought it was like, oh, this is like Mere Christianity.
Yeah, or like Mere Christianity.
It's going to be this logical A to B to C, where he more kind of reasons around things.
Yeah, it's not a systematic approach, but it is a convergence of truth. He does lay out the argument because the way you used to defend Christianity to prove it was true is you start with the fact of sin, which is the one doctrine you can prove, and but now people deny that too. They deny sin. And so we're going to say, well, okay, which philosophy is the most sane? And he starts to look at all these other modern philosophies. They're all insane. Every one of these leads to madness and even self-destruction, if you take the other modern philosophies. But Christianity is sane any way you approach it. And the rest of the book is taking it from an artistic point of view, from a historical point of view, and philosophical, and how is Christianity played out?
What about Pentecostal?
What about Pentecostal? What's the question here?
You said every version of Christianity is sane, so I'm just curious. Just checking.
I didn't say every version of Christianity. Play back the tape. I didn't say that. Didn't say that.
Words in his mouth.
Yeah, so anyways, Orthodoxy is kind of one of the pillars of Chesterton's writing, and the other big pillar is the everlasting man. So Orthodoxy is written, about, sort of at the beginning of his career and how he became a Christian. Everlasting Man is kind of one of his last great works, showing that history can't be explained except from a Christian point of view.
And you said everlasting, so I was thinking we can kind of give people who have not read a Chesterton book or are thinking about picking one out, rundowns of the books. It's going to Everlasting Man now. I remember saying that was the first Chesterton book you read, which was probably the toughest book of his to read. Yeah,
that was a tough first read. Really screwed me up too. I haven't been the same since I read that book. But I don't recommend other people start with that one.
You're gonna get canceled on YouTube for doing that.
Yeah, but
read that book, you might accidentally become the president of the Chesterton Society.
Right. Yeah. So, but the reason I read Everlasting Man was because that's the book that C.S. Lewis recommended.
Right.
And I was a big C.S. Lewis fan, and that's the one he read. So I said, okay, that's the one I'm going to pick up and read.
Is there now a big rivalry between the Chesterton Society and the C.S. Lewis Society?
There's a C.S. Lewis Society? Yeah.
The Everlasting Man feels way more like a history book. He's not as light. The chapters are much longer. It almost feels like a textbook in some ways.
Well,
it's beautifully written.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that part where he talks about Christmas, which is like brought tears to my eyes when he's talking about, when Christ came into the world. But I think
the hands that made the universe were too small to reach the huge heads of the cattle.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's a Christmas card quote right there.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's history, but it's also philosophy and art and mythology and poetry and theology. I mean, he brings every discipline together, and that's what's so amazing. I read this book the first time, my first Chesterton book, and I said, this is a writer unlike any I've ever encountered, and I know I'm only getting about a tenth of what I'm reading, but I want more. I can't get enough of it, and that's just kept it going.
When we read, so I had read it in my first Chesterton group, and it went completely over my head. And in the second group we were in, we had a couple guys that really know their history, and that helped a lot. If you don't know history, read with somebody who knows history.
Yeah, I'll just say as an aside, reading it with a group tends to be better.
Really great.
Absolutely, yeah, and everyone will bring a helpful perspective to it. And Chesterton is very, very ripe for good discussion.
Man Who Was Thursday.
Chesterton's most famous novel by far. People read it. It's a real page turner, and then people get to the end and they go, "Okay, what was that about? What happened?"
Strange last chapter.
What? And
I heard it's basically our FBI sketch. Is that true?
Until the end, yeah. We didn't do the crazy party thing. Spoiler alert.
Some said it was the inspiration for Mission Impossible with all the unmaskings. Yeah. Maybe it's about the end of COVID with all the unmasking. I don't know.
You always say the thing to remember is that it's actually called The Man Who Was Thursday, a nightmare.
A nightmare. That's a key.
And the nightmare part is a key.
Yeah, and the other thing to maybe remember tuck this away. Chesterton's favorite book of the Bible was the Book of Job. Know that when you're reading The Man Who Was Thursday, and that will help an awful lot.
Heretics.
Heretics is sort of the companion piece to Orthodoxy. It's the book he wrote before Orthodoxy, and it's sort of what people said, oh yeah, there's Chesterton picking on everyone else's philosophy, but he hasn't explained his own philosophy, so that's why he wrote Orthodoxy. But he does explain his own philosophy in Heretics, but he just goes after all the modern thinkers and showing where they fail and where they fall on their face. But Orthodoxy is one of those great quotable books where you underline everything. Heretics is the same sort of thing. You'll just underline everything when you're reading, just one great line. In fact, one of my most favorite Chesterton lines, and I have a lot of them, Kyle.
Yeah.
Ethan, I have a lot of them, okay? But it comes from Heretics, where he says, hope means hoping when things are hopeless or it's no virtue at all. And charity means pardoning the unpardonable or it's no virtue at all. And faith means believing the incredible or it's no virtue at all.
Yeah, his defense of the family is one of my all-time favorite chapters.
Great chapter, and that's in Heretics, yep.
That's in my book. What's Wrong with the World? I'm not asking that. That's the next book.
Yeah. I guess this will give me a good time to address a famous myth, a story that's told over and over about Chesterton, that the story is told that a famous editor of a newspaper sent a all-points bulletin to famous writers and thinkers and said to tell them what's wrong with the world. And he wrote back, "Dear sir, I am sincerely G.K. Chesterton." Great story. And Adam, I wish it was true.
That one's false.
That one's false.
I made that one up.
But it's still true in a way because he did write a letter to the editor of the Daily News, and it was several paragraphs long, and within the body of the he said, if you were to ask what's wrong with the world, of course the correct answer is I am. So in other words, he did say it. It just got reduced to the
right.
to the short one. It got reduced to the tweet. Yeah.
Tweet version, he would have tweeted. Yeah.
So the two of Chesterton's most famous lines come from What's Wrong with the World, and that is that the Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It's been found difficult and left untried. That's from, that's from him.
Like 3 different people.
It wasn't Winston Churchill, right?
It was Monsignor or something. Like 3 different priests have been quoted. Like,
Oh yeah, Monsignor something. Yeah.
I thought that was a Kanye West.
One of Chesterton's most famous quotes is a Neil Gaiman paraphrase.
Yeah, but at least he paraphrased it.
Yeah, it was well.
It was really close to the real one. But yeah, but then the other great line from that one that's always quoted and should be is, "A thing worth doing is worth doing badly."
Right.
And that's from What's Wrong with the World. And of course, people will misinterpret that. Well, that means we can do something really lousy, like the way we put on our shows at the Babylon Bee. But no, that's not what it means. It means that the amateur has just as much right and inspiration to do something as the professional who gets paid for it. And so it's just as worthwhile for an amateur to do something because they love doing what they're doing. And if they don't do it as well as a professional, it's still worth doing.
Right.
And the great example is the mother. The mother's the great amateur. She doesn't get paid for what she's doing, but she does the most important thing there is.
And then just a breakdown of What's Wrong with the World, he's breaking down, his original title wasn't What's Wrong with the World, right? He's really kind of what's wrong with how we run the world.
Well, the original
what
title
he's going for there?
The original title was What's Wrong?
What's wrong?
And he said he was visited by someone, and he says, "I've been doing what's wrong all morning." But he identifies the 4 things that are wrong with the world: big government, big business, feminism, and public education. 100 years ago.
Prophecy fulfilled.
So that's the book we're currently reading in our group. We're almost all the way through in the later part of the education part. And I figured I'd throw in Tremendous Trifles, even though he's written so many books.
Yeah, well, Tremendous Trifles is a perfect example of a book of essays, and Chesterton was by far, in a way, an essayist. That's what he did most of. He was writing for the newspapers. He wrote thousands of essays, literally thousands of essays, and Tremendous Trifles is just one of the great collections, and that has some of his best essays for introducing yourself to Chesterton. The one on the jury called the 12 Men, the What I Found in My Pocket, A Piece of Chalk. Those are just great essays.
Yeah, I've got a few. I picked a few in there because they are the easiest to digest. They're shorter, and they tend to not be as much about things that are modern to his day as often. He's not talking about the news.
Right.
He's talking about concepts. And it's a shorter book. All right, so there you go. That's your breakdown of the Chesterton books. There's more, but we'll have all day.
And then the books that I wrote are designed to introduce people to Chesterton, to Common Sense 101 and The Apostle of Common Sense.
Yeah, read Dale's books. I mean, I just put together a book of essays, but there's probably maybe 7 times in there that it says, just go to chesterton.org. I've mentioned your books in there, and I'm not going to even attempt to do an exhortation on why Chesterton's great. That's been done. But I get asked all the time, where should I start? So I've made that.
No, and thanks for doing that book, because I think the essays are the best way to introduce people to pure Chesterton, rather than a book like Orthodoxy. And you just put together a great collection of essays.
I'll say I came from when I always started reading Chesterton, I came from reading C.S. Lewis and other authors, and you kind of feel like I have to read an entire book to get it. And I didn't understand about Chesterton is that you can read a short essay and really get a lot of the flavor and some great quotes.
Absolutely.
Once you get his main concepts, it becomes way more easy to get. Yeah. Those. We probably should have done that in here. Talk about some of Chesterton's big concepts.
We blew it.
Yeah, ruined it.
You guys want to start over?
Start over? Yeah. Square one? That would have been good, actually. Well, we could break down a few real quick, right?
Subscriber Lounge? We could do it in the Subscriber Lounge.
Subscriber Lounge. We'll do the big ideas of Chesterton in the Subscriber Lounge while we eat cheese. Okay, so let's do this. How do you think Chesterton would react to these things right now, today, in the world.
You have to speak for Gilbert.
Speak on behalf, he's being channeled through you. I'm sure you never get asked this stuff.
Yeah. What would Chesterton have said about? Now, no one's ever done that to me.
Yeah. So we can take our pick. We don't have to do everything.
No.
But I am curious. I'm sure you've been asked this one a lot, but I haven't heard the answer. Trump. What would Chesterton make of Trump? Because it's kind of a mixed thing, right? I mean, there's like I think somebody over, I don't know if it was you, mentioned the Napoleon Notting Hill in relation to Trump. But Chesterton has appreciation of the more blue collar every man, not that Trump's blue collar, but I don't know.
Well, I mean that's just Trump, of course, is truly the great divisive character of our time, right? So if you say, well, Chesterton would have liked Trump, you're going to have a whole group of people that hate you immediately and will hate Chesterton because you said that.
Indeed.
But then if you would have said, well, Chesterton would have absolutely condemned Trump, you'll have another giant segment that will hate Chesterton because you said that.
Right.
So,
but I don't think he would have taken either of those sides.
Yeah. So if we could leave Trump, the figure, out of the equation and say, what is it about Trump that Chesterton would have liked? What is it about Trump that Trump represents that Chesterton would have condemned or disagreed with? Then you could have possibly a fruitful discussion. I mean, one of Trump's great successes was what you were alluding to earlier. He somehow connected with the working man that had been completely forgotten by both major parties for a long time, and Chesterton, that was his goal too, was to reach that segment of the population that really had been forgotten about by the political parties of his time. So in that sense, he would have said, yeah, he tapped into something that the other politicians had forgotten about. And of course, that segment responded to Trump, right? Yeah. And Chesterton's against big business, against big capitalism. He believes in small business and individual ownership. Well, Trump, on the one hand, represents big capitalism, but in a lot of his policies, he favors the small business owner. But in trying to protect them against big government, doesn't do as well as at protecting them against the voracious monopolistic things like Amazon that eat up small businesses. But that's one of the things where you see where he's going to be connecting well with the a certain segment. The fact that Trump really not only got the support of the pro-life political base, but also didn't disappoint him. He actually did stuff. Yeah, he actually did something for him. Chester would have supported that. And there are people that absolutely can't stand Trump, and they also want, but these are pro-life people,
right?
And yet they don't want to admit that he did a lot for the pro-life cause. But in general, Chesterton, for instance, saw the rise and fall, not the complete fall, but he saw the rise of Mussolini in his time, and saw that Mussolini was effective because he was tapping into a lot of things that Italy was looking for to rebuild its country, and he never praised Mussolini, but he recognized the things that he was doing that were the right things to do. Mm-hmm. But he also predicted that he could see England someday going to war with Italy.
Right.
But then people will look back and say, oh, Chester was pro-fascist because he said some good things about Mussolini. Well, go back and read any of the newspapers. Everybody was saying good things about Mussolini in the 1920s. Nobody was condemning him in the early going because he was accomplishing so many good things. But then, as things unfolded in the 30s, makes his alliance with Hitler, all those people that liked Mussolini at the beginning didn't like him anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Chesterton would have been wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat, is what you're saying?
What about, sorry to stay on this one so long. What about the thing Trump is most criticized for? His tweets or his personality, the way he
Being
talks,
vulgar
his
and-
jokes,
yeah.
his vulgar jokes and things.
Well, Chesterton absolutely defended vulgarity.
It's true.
Yeah, and I think the whole idea is that there was something refreshing about the fact that Trump was not a politician and didn't talk like a politician, and that not only inspired some people, it also drove other people crazy because there's no decorum there. But Chesterton thought all politicians were phonies to begin with,
Yeah, right.
and
If you don't respect that, you're gonna like what Trump.
he had just such a low opinion of politicians. He had the great line, "It's distressing to contemplate how few politicians are hanged."
That's fantastic. Yeah, he talks about how you want to have the town meetings under the town tree because you can hang the politician from there.
He said you should keep your politicians close enough to kick them.
Right, so I think he really would have hated how far away
Yeah.
we're being governed by versus the local politics.
Right.
You know what the worst thing in the world is? It's when you're laughing at something and really enjoying it and you're not paying any money for it. That sucks. You feel really guilty. You're like, man, there's all these people that are like giving their lives to making this stuff and, that's their whole job. And I didn't even give them any money for it. Now you can give us money. You can become a Babylon Bee subscriber and ease that guilty conscience. Go to babylonbee.com/plans. And for a limited time, you can insert the promo code podcast and you get 10% off. It's not 7%, it's not 8%, it's not 9%, it's not 11%, it's not 12%. It is 10% off your subscription. So go to babylonbee.com/plans and subscribe. That's what enables us to continue making all the amazing content that you enjoy 24/7 right into your brain.
We're going to go to the subscriber portion now. We're going to go. We're going to try out these fine cheeses. We're going to talk about Chesterton's obsession with cheese. Talk about the big ideas of Chesterton. What else are we doing?
And we're going to do the 10 questions.
10 questions with Dale Ahlquist.
And we have questions from our paid subscribers
Subscriber Questertons.
for Dale. So let's do it.
Let's dive in.
Coming up next for Babylon Bee subscribers.
Well, do we want to start with the big concepts of Chesterton? Can you boil down
The biggest concepts of Chesterton.
Connected to wonder and humility, of course, is the idea of thanks. Thanks is the highest form of thought, he says. And so Chesterton is always trying to get us to be normal. He's defending the normal.
Well, let's talk about cheese.
Now that was the segue I was waiting for. Yeah. Chesterton saw the whole line. He was absolutely prophetic. We are seeing the end of the road that Chesterton saw the beginning of the road.
Wondering what they'll say next? The rest of this podcast is in our super exclusive premium subscriber lounge. Go to babylonbee.com/plans for full-length ad-free podcasts. Kyle and Ethan would like to thank Seth Dillon for paying the bills, Adam Ford for creating their job, the other writers for tirelessly pitching headlines, the subscribers, and you, the listener. Until next time, this is Dave DeAndrea, the voice of the Babylon Bee.
Subscriber Questertons.
for Dale. So let's do it.
Let's dive in.
Do I have to be here for that too then?
You're stuck here. You're stuck.